There we were, just like it was supposed to be.
What you have to go through and do then is to get that vine balance of vegetative and fruit growth. You have to go through and you'll have to cut some of the clusters out in order to come into balance with the amount of canopy that you have with respect to the amount of fruit. Typically what you do is, there's what's called is the basal cluster, okay, which would be this guy down here, which is your lowest cluster. And then you've got your distal cluster, which is up here, and sometimes if it's a really good year you get a third one here because it comes out from that bud. We'll get another cluster there. And when you're doing your thinning though, you start from the top and you cut all of these ones out, and you always want to be left with your basal cluster because it's the one that gets most sunlight, right? It's furthest away from the canopy, gets most sunlight. All the sugar is directed towards the basal cluster as opposed to your secondary cluster or your distal clusters. It all depends on when you prune. These little buds right here that you see, let me just strip this down for you. Okay, let's break it down even maybe in a different way. These shoots that we have, they were grown this year, okay? Each of them, if you can zoom in right there, you got a bud, okay? See that bud right there? This is where the fruit, this shoot that you're looking at right now, this growth, it will come from there next year. It will grow, and if you had it tied down in the right position, that bud next year, if you tie this in and cut it off, you know, further down the cane from that bud, this shoot, hang on, let's do it properly. Okay, so let's picture we get rid of all this stuff and we've done our pruning. That bud right there is going to push out like this, right? And then it's going to drop some clusters, 2 or 3 maybe along the way, and that will grow up and that becomes this. If you just left the vine, you don't cut anything out. Well, if you can count the number of buds here, typically you want to leave between maybe around 20 to 25 buds of these for the next year's growth. It's average for about a 3-ton acre vineyard, 3 ton per acre vineyard. If I don't do any pruning at all, well, even on just one cane, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, say 10, and I've got let's say 20 shoots there. That's 200 buds that I'll leave if I don't cut any of those. So I have to cut a whole bunch of these buds out, otherwise it's just going to be all strictly vegetative growth. And you are determining, when you do the pruning, you're determining how many grapes or shoots you will get, which then translates into grapes that you will get.